going to be creating a new layered surface using KK glue used with an embossing stamp pad. We're going to be printing on it later with the Tim Holtz stencil. We're also going to be foiling and using bondaweb, but most importantly we're using it on paper, which is really exciting. I'm going to stamp this starry printing block with an embossing pad. It's a clear gel ink type thing, and it's going to help the KK glue stay onto the paper, ready for me to iron it. You can just see that one. I'm going to ink it in between because I want to make sure that we get a very good definition. That's the last block in the row of 3. I'll cover that up with a baby wipe in a moment because I don't want to spoil the block. Now I'm going to sprinkle the glue. This is a soft powdered glue which you iron fix, and it sticks to the ink on the embossing pad. There we go. Then you just shake off the residue and you can pop that back into the pot later. So we're going to iron that with some baking parchment to fix the powder. The iron's around wool. Can you see that the glue is melting and has gone dark? So that gives you a clue. Once it's melted, it's stuck. All the powder is stuck to the paper. Then we wait for that to cool down. Everything's cooled right down. It's very important for everything to cool down. Otherwise you'll just peel the glue off the paper, which would be very annoying. There we go. It shouldn't tug too much. There we are. We're ready to foil. I'm just going to place the foil, I've chosen green, over the work, and you use the foil colour side up. I think it's important to use baking parchment as well, just to protect the foil from the iron in case the iron's too hot, because if the iron is too hot the foil will pucker and it won't release the colour. Everything's cooled down now. I'm just going to take the baking parchment off, then I'm going to remove the foil. There we go. Look at that. You do get a little bit of scattering of the powder around the design sometimes, but I don't think that matters too much. And then we have this wonderful negative foil which we can play with too. I've removed the baking parchment and the backing paper from the bondaweb. You can just about see it here. And now I'm going to add our negative design that has come from the positive design from the printing block. Just going to try and measure it up and get it level. I'm not the best person at keeping things tidy and neat. I think that's about right. We want to have enough edge left to make our book cover if it's going to be a book cover. I'm now going to iron this with baking parchment, and the design, or the negative part of the design, should stick to the bondaweb. Everything's cooled down now. Take the baking parchment off and then peel off the foil. Look at that. We've got our negative images. Now we've revealed the exposed bondaweb here, where the negative space was. I'm just going to fill this in with some red foil. So again, we use our crafty baking parchment and we just iron for about 30 seconds with the iron on around wool. And then we wait for it to cool down. Everything's cooled down again. I know it's annoying having to wait for things to cool down, but it's terribly important. Otherwise you just don't get a good definition. Now look at that. Is that fabulous, or is that fabulous? And now we can start to decorate with stencils and printing blocks. I'm going to use this Harlequin one. And I'm just going to play with a little bit of silver paint, I think, on this one. This is a silver metallic. It's a textile paint, so you can use it on paper, but you can also use it on t-shirts and things, and therefore it will wash. So it's a very useful, adaptable paint. Okay, I'm handing over to Jamie now because she's the block printing extraordinaire. She's great with stencils and all kinds of things.
Well, I think you've done an extraordinary, wonderful, creative job with this paper, Kim. I really love these transfoils. I think they work really, really beautifully. And I just feel that it just needs another layer. Now, this is newspaper, and obviously we don't want it to look like newspaper, so we're just kind of block printing in some spaces. Now, when I'm going to... There's a little word here in Indian, which I just want to hide. So I'm just going to block print over the top of that. There's some gentleman's face here, which I think I'd like to hide. So I'm just going to block print over his face. So we're doing sort of layering. We've got your block printed transfer layers. And now we're doing the block printing with paint, just to sort of create more layers. It's all about layers, isn't it? And remember that if you're going to print the edge of, if you're going to print the edge of the paper, you need to put the edge of the paper to the edge of your foam mat. Remember, you must have that foam mat underneath. So just keep dabbing the paint on with a sponge. I'm just going to work my way round the edge. Now, when you get to a corner, again, it's better if you take the corner of the paper to the corner of your mat. And I love the way that stenciling combines so beautifully with the transfoils and the block printing. And I think what I plan on doing with this is I wanted to create a book cover, because I think it's nice to create something with something that you've actually printed yourself. So we're just randomly going around filling in spaces with this lovely starry Christmas wooden printing block. And I'm just going to see, I've got a little bit of a gap there. Just take it, oops, I've done it again. Sometimes these drop out of your hand. And we're there. Oh, I had a bit there. Excellent. Okay, I look forward to making that into a book for you, Kim. Thank you.